Afternoon, everybody. Welcome in to the Maize and Blue Reviews Afternoon Live. I'm Dennis Fithian. We're here every day at 1 o'clock, part of Rivals.com, talking about the latest in Michigan sports. And there is plenty to talk about on this last Tuesday of March. And it includes the upcoming spring game, which we'll get to. Also, I've got a Michigan football question that I am going to address. You can comment on it live if you're watching this show out there anywhere in that comment section. Also, the Michigan football team has landed a commitment. We'll get to that. But we will start out with the big news of the day, and that is the Michigan women's basketball team, who they were one step away from the Final Four. They were on ESPN last night, taking on Louisville, and a game effort from Kim Barnes-Arico's crew, as Louisville a couple times looked like they were going to pull away from Michigan, only to see Michigan just hang around. And it really came down, one possession game, tough charge call that could have been I think it was an and one there late with the Wolverines, everything. And Naz Hillman, that didn't happen. It ended up being a charge, and Louisville wins the game. But Michigan, the women's basketball program is it's the best it's ever been. They did a great job, first Elite Eight, and getting that close to the Final Four. Bright future ahead for the women there. Congratulations, great job, and a lot of enthusiasm moving forward in basketball, and both the men and women's programs, and hockey for that matter, which you talked about yesterday. All those winter sports, they all have each other's back. They're all feeding off of one another, and that's nothing but good stuff there for Michigan. Now, when we get to the question of the day, I'll put it up here on the screen. I have not yet seen in Las Vegas where they have put the totals. Maybe they do wait till after the spring games, which, as everybody knows around here, is coming up on Saturday. But I've gone ahead and put the over and under on the Michigan football win total for the upcoming season, the 22 season. I will put it at 10 wins. Now, that's a tough one when you think about it, because Michigan is going to, I'll put that schedule up on the screen in a minute, but I think everybody knows the last game of the year is Ohio State. This year it is at OSU. But then you look at those 11 games before, and it's a very manageable schedule by any estimation when you take a look at it. There's tough games that are at home, very, I'd say manageable. You might even say soft, easy. Another word when you talk about the non-conference schedule. And Michigan is in a good position when you look at who they have coming back. Sure, on defense, they have a lot to replace, and there's no doubt about that. But you look at the most important position, quarterback, it looks really good with the returning signal caller and Cade Cunningham, and being pushed by J.J. McCarthy. I'll give news on McCarthy in just 1 second. And the offensive line is stacked. They brought in a center, an outstanding center, to stabilize that line. Out at right tackle, Trente Jones. It looks like a really good offensive line. We know about the running backs, the wide receivers, and tight ends. The pass catchers on this team, it really is. It is stacked. And it comes down to that defensive side of the ball. But again, they got that schedule, which can get guys flying around. And I like it. And it reminds me a little bit of 20 so years ago, where you'd sit around in the offseason and you say, why not Michigan? Could it come down to a play or two in a couple games and Michigan could repeat as Big Ten champs? And to me, that answer is yes. Now, you got to be careful. All last season with the basketball program, I was talking about Final Four and championship game and all of that. And it was a fantastic offseason. Then they went into the season talking about the basketball program. And we know what happened. They dipped down and it looked like they weren't even going to make the tournament. So But this is how the offseason, like, should we say, okay, be careful, which it looks good. I mean, what are the forecasts for the Wolverines in 22? It's good. Mostly sunny with a chance of to repeat. Speaking of mostly sunny, I got a call yesterday from somebody that's close to the Michigan football program, and they told me that I should tell you that JJ McCarthy is doing well and not to worry about him, not to worry about JJ McCarthy and that shoulder. Easier said than done. The McCarthy's the missing the spring game action because of whatever sore shoulder, didn't need surgery, but my source tells me that not to worry about McCarthy. So I wanted to pass that along to you. That I would put in the good news category. I think also in the good news category is when you take a look at this schedule, you can just be honest about it. Michigan, like they started out the NCAA tournament with Colorado State, that's who they will open with in September, Colorado State. A very winnable game. Michigan will be a double-digit favorite in that one, just like next week or the following week when they take on Hawaii, when the Rainbows come in. That should be another game where Michigan should be a double-digit favorite, just like in week 3 when they should go 3-0 as a double-digit favorite against Connecticut as the Huskies come in. Now, if this was a basketball tournament, this would be a stacked non-conference, but we're talking about football, and Michigan should be able to dispatch Connecticut and go to 3-0 to start the Big Ten out against Maryland, a team that last year Michigan went to Maryland and won 59-18, and Donovan Edwards had 170 yards and 10 catches and really arrived on the scene. I think that if I had to put a percentage on Michigan going 4-0, it feels like something 98%. Where would you put it at? I would put it at I'm talking about the first 4 games, 98%. And so anytime here in this offseason, spring game through the summer, getting into August, getting into game week, when people talk about the upcoming Michigan schedule, they're going to say, well, let's see what happens in October, because September is very manageable. And I think Michigan will be 4-0. They go to Iowa City, and the Hawkeyes, they do start their Big Ten slate out at Rutgers, and they do host their in-state rival Iowa State. And that could be a difficult game for Iowa. It's a rivalry game, so anything can happen, but the chances that Iowa could be 4-0, certainly 3-1. And the first thing I think about when I see Iowa there in October the 1st and Michigan being 4-0, the possibility of the Hawkeyes being 4-0, I feel like that's going to be a night game. That's going to be a night game in Iowa City. Not what you want, because that brings up a lot of bad memories for Michigan fans. You'd rather have that one in the day. You remember it. Those night games in Iowa City, the fans are right on top of you and everything else. But can Michigan go to Iowa and win that game? I say yes. I think they should win the game, just like the following week against Iowa. This really does. Then when you get into the middle of October, Penn State and Michigan State, both of those teams with revenge on their – well, scratch that. Michigan State, it's not revenge. They should feel pretty confident under Mel Tucker, having gone 2-0 against Michigan. But Penn State, certainly with revenge on their mind, and Michigan, should have a little chip on their shoulder when it comes to Michigan State, even though it was a fantastic season. Getting to the college football playoff. Oh yeah, Michigan lost to Michigan State. How soon I forget. So there'll be some payback there for the Wolverines. But then I like how it sets up at Rutgers and Nebraska coming in, Illinois. Can Michigan go 11-0 heading into the Ohio State game? I'm saying it here today on the last Tuesday of March. Yes, I think that's the expectation. So if you're putting the over and under at 10, the easiest thing to do is say, 10 wins. Because probably they'll, if you're being reasonable, how tough college football is. You even think back to last year, Michigan at Nebraska, Michigan at Penn State. Those games were hanging in the balance with just a minute or so to go. And Michigan ended up winning those games. As you know, both of those games on the road. So there'll be a couple other games like that. And you could say, yeah, they'll probably stub their toe once, heading into that game against Ohio State, 10-2, 10-2 seems, to be where the bar's at. But if I'm asking you to go over or under with what Michigan has here and what they did last year, where their coaches sit, how the program is going, I say over. And so that gives me the chance to make the prediction at going 11-0 right now. I also know this, like, and if you're to say, okay, so do you think they're going 12-0? Do I think they're going 11-1? I would say 11-1. However, if I go all the way through and you do as well, and you sit there, Michigan runs roughshod through their schedule. They're sitting there 11-0, heading to Columbus. It looks like Thanksgiving weekend. Let me guess, 75, 80% of the people that made the prediction, even if they were at 11-0 heading in, they'll say they like Michigan's chances down in Columbus to win that game and go 2-0. And hey, this is a rivalry that has flipped in the past. Michigan owned Ohio State once, and now it's time to turn the tables and all that kind of stuff, and get it going in the other direction. Fair, if I would say definitely fair if we get all the way to mid-November and Michigan is 11-0. That is how I feel about it and how I'm looking at things now. Let's look at the Wolverine Den message board. I put this particular question up to the people just a few days ago, and I did get some response. And the question was, you going over or under 10 wins? First response, under if I was a betting man. 11-1, today's college football landscape is not easy. And correct, it is not easy. Going 11-1. So there's an under. So it's not just all people saying, hey, yeah, Michigan's going 11-0. They're going 12-0, whatever else. There's my question. You can see pre-spring game over and under. Win total is 10. Are you more inclined today to pick the over or under 10 wins? Let me read some of the feedback here. And don't forget, coming up, Michigan gets a commitment. Also, I will give you the lowdown on the spring game coming up on Saturday, a little preview, if you will. But right now, I'm asking people if they are more inclined today to pick the over or under 10 wins for Michigan's win total this upcoming year, 2022. Here's an over. The non-conference schedule is butter. And Michigan is the hot knife. I'm adding that. Let me just read it. Over. Non-con is butter. Maryland at home. Not too difficult. There are a lot of people who would predict a loss at Iowa, but I'm not one of them. Iowa can't score. Michigan can. Basically, the first half of the season opens up very nicely to go undefeated and gives this defense time to come together. Penn State at home as is Sparty and Nebraska. Penn State has no offense either and probably won't score much, more than 20 in the big house. This team is 10-1 or 11-0. They go to Columbus. They might slip up along the way, but I don't think so. So, yeah, they might. Sure. You got to put that caveat. Of course they could slip up. It happens. Let's get some more of the feedback. That was a long one. I read the majority of it. Next one coming in says, I would take the over because of the relatively weak schedule. Only really worried about at Ohio State and at Iowa. Michigan's recent history at Iowa is abysmal, and they're going to want revenge for the beatdown Harbaugh laid on them in the championship game. That's true. Here's somebody thinking that Michigan will be 10-1 in Columbus. So I'm asking people if they had to go over and under. This poster said, too bad. I'm picking 10 right on the button, but he says if he can't take 10, I'd be more inclined to say 11-1 than 9-3. There you go. I should have just read the whole thing because that's completely understandable. A 12-0. 12-0, that doesn't happen very often, but once in, what are we talking about, 70 years now? But I always like to see I just like seeing them. I'm not picking 12-0 myself. Although, like I said, if Michigan goes 11-0, they're sitting there mid-November, there will be a lot of people that are talking about 12-0. Couple more on the feedback here on the Wolverine Den. A lot depends on a couple more pieces on the defensive line in the portal. Team is built this year a lot like OSU last year. Plenty of offense with defensive holes. Can we stop the other team from scoring? I'll go with 10-1 heading into Columbus, but if the D line comes together, we will be in the playoffs. Again, playoffs. Yeah, well, playoffs is right. Is what you would be talking about at this point. There it is. There's a look at that schedule. All right, let's move ahead a little bit to that spring game, and it is coming up. I'm going to say faster than you might expect. I don't know if that's true for you or not. I'm ready for it. It is noon on Saturday. The stadium is opening up at is it opening up at 11? I put 11 down here, and it seemed to me that 11:30. So I'm going to have to check on that. I will check on that because I thought it was 11:30, and I wrote down here 11. So I'll have to double check that. This is true. The Pioneer High School parking is $30, and you can get in there at 7 o'clock in the morning. Now, you say, wow, that's a lot for the spring game. If you have never been to a spring game, you will then be surprised at the amount of people that show up and tailgate for the spring game and in party like it's September, or in this case, November, with a high of 48 degrees. So it's going to feel about, I don't know, my prediction, 41 degrees, 40 degrees at game time. So however that makes you feel, 40 degrees, that feels like some November weather to me. But yeah, tailgating at Pioneer High School, it will be happening. I have seen it. I'm trying to think if I've ever I participated in some eating of food and tailgating. I can't say that I've uh, you know done one-handed keg stands or anything. Normally, working when the spring game is happening. You do see, if you cannot get down there, we do have coverage that is happening on the Big Ten Network at noon. It will be on the Big Ten Network. I saw it. I've already set my DVR to noon, and it says Michigan spring game on there. It will be on the radio as Doug Karsh and John Jansen make their debut. Although, Doug's called spring games before, and Jansen's called regular season games, so it should be just like an old shoe for those guys. And there's the weather forecast that I put down, subject to change, just like that 11 a.m. I'll check to see if that is happening or not. All right, Michigan with a commitment I told you about, and there he is. Let's take a look at him. Benjamin Hall. This is commitment number 7 for the Wolverines for next year, the 2023 class. Benjamin Hall tweeting out today that he's 100% committed. Look at him as a running back wearing that Donovan Edwards jersey. He is from North Cobb High School in Kennesaw, Georgia. There he is, 5'11", 230. Don't have any ranking on him. I'm not sure why we don't. I don't know if that means that he's a 3-star or 2-star, or did he slip through the cracks on the rating system. I'll be checking on that. This just happened this morning. I'm not 100% sure why that has happened that way. I can tell you that the 7th commitment here, and you work through the second running back, Cole Cabana from Dexter, was the first running back. And now you see Benjamin Hall on the list here as well from Kennesaw, Georgia. And there it is. You get 2 running backs, Rappleyea, the tight end out of Massachusetts, right here in Michigan, Samaj Morgan. Yeah, you got the kicker out of Ann Arbor, Huron, Samaha here, Adam Samaha. You got mostly, it looks like, offensive players. 2, the 6th commitment was Brooks Barr out of Illinois. And then you got Raylan Wilson out of Tallahassee, Florida. He's a linebacker. As you see with Cabana, Rappleyea, Wilson, Samaj Morgan, all 4 stars, while Rivals just has Michigan kicker with 2 stars for had him ranked much higher than that. And we'll see what the story is when it comes down to Hall, when it gets to the ranking system or whatnot. Whatnot is the recruiting system or the rankings when it gets to it. So there you go. Spring game. We got the Michigan football question. Michigan landing a commitment as well. I wanted to thank the fine folks at Valiant U of M at this time, VMG, for the top 2 prizes in our survivor pool that we ran on our message boards, the Maize and Blue Review. And we can tell you that Hale_Blue came away and cut down the nets with the victory. And Blue Orion was the runner-up in the TMBR survival pool. Thanks for the Michigan versus everybody gear. And thanks to Valiant and VMG for taking care of them. That was pretty awesome. Survivor pools are great. And that was a lot of fun. You want some more message? Let's get a message or 2 more about the question of the day, and that is Michigan. Pretty straightforward. I'm putting the over and under win total at 10. And here's some more. I read that one a little bit earlier. Here's somebody that would push at 10. Says they were just in Vegas a few weeks ago, and Michigan had 45-1 odds for the national championship, 7th best odds. So he put some money down, realizing he was betting with his heart. That happens. I think you go to Vegas. You don't even have to go to Vegas now. I haven't seen the college football ones on my phone yet, but yeah, you bet with your heart. You know what you know what that does to you. Here's another one on will you go over and under on 10. I'll take the over. Weaker schedule, both non-conference and conference. Young guys on D will be playing much better for the trip to Iowa, probably a night game. I think PSU and MSU at home will be tough, but very winnable games. 11-1 as we lose 1 on the road to either OSU or Iowa, but still win the division and conference as OSU has another loss or 2 with their tougher conference schedule. Yeah, well, if you could predict, if you could only take we play these games in the off season, I'll play it right now. If there's only 1 loss, of course, you would take Iowa because they're over there on the western side. And that would mean that Michigan would be going to the Big Ten championship game 2 years in a row. Here's a 15-0 prediction. I'd say over right now, too. That's me commenting in. These were the first 10 people, 8-1-1 on the over so far. This thread, maybe my reading wasn't all that good because the person that had them as a 10 actually said they were going over. So 9-1. Over 10 with a loss at Iowa or OSU. We blow out PSU and MSU. And one more here. And there's Josh Henschke. Might be ambitious, not impossible. Who's got it better than us? Maybe some SEC team. I don't know. Go-to joke. People, instead of making the predictions here, making some jokes. There's an over. Let's see. Over. 12-0. Schedule is set up almost perfectly. I don't think this team chokes on the road against Iowa. I think those days are over. Here's another over. I don't see many excuses. Why not? The schedule is easy. The team is loaded, especially on offense. Well, there you go. You should be optimistic if you're a Michigan football fan. And this is a different feeling than people have had in years. And really in the 21st century, there hasn't been too many years where you were sitting around, even when Michigan did get that win previous to last year over Ohio State. It's not like they went to the Big Ten championship game. Even if there was a Big Ten championship game, it wasn't like they had won the Big Ten that year. They just were able to beat an Ohio State team that was in transition with their coach. And sure, it felt good. But the point is, there haven't been a lot of off seasons where you're sitting there Big Ten wise on the top of the mountain and you're looking down at everybody and looking into the off season and a team that has a pretty good core group coming back, as pointed out, especially on offense. So you should feel good if you're a Michigan fan. If you felt bad all those years with a bad taste in your mouth about not going to Indy, about not beating Ohio State, all of that, well, that bitterness should all be as sweet as the sweetest fruit off the vine now, and that should carry you all the way to September because that's what you get. It's yeah, that's what you get. Don't fall back on the old one. Oh, that was a anomaly. That was a wobble. That's just a 1 year. Enjoy it. My advice: enjoy the off season while you can, and then we'll see what happens next year. But feel good about it, and there's my suggestion for you. Congratulations to the Michigan women's team for making the Elite Eight and getting that close to the Final Four. Michigan picking up their 7th commitment. The spring game is happening on Saturday. We'll be back tomorrow. Another Michigan football question. Heck, maybe another commitment, but we'll get that to you. Thanks for watching, and everybody have a great day. We will talk at you tomorrow at 1 here on the Maize and Blue Review afternoon.